So, bones. Why do we need bones?
So you don't turn into jelly.
Yes. Kind of provide us general structure to hang everything. So, so first function of the bones is support. Second one, of course, if it's support, it also protects, for example, our internal organs such as lungs, and allows movement. But there is another most important, the more important function, which is, what else is in the bones? Bone marrow. Yeah, once again, it's kind of a location. What does the bone marrow do for us?
Makes red blood cells.
Red blood cells, white blood cells, thrombocytes, everything. So, and the last function of the skeleton is to store minerals, and number one mineral element is calcium. Yes. And that's why such disease as osteoporosis possible. Calcium goes in and out of the bones. So, which systems need calcium? We don't know it yet. It will be surprised, but our nervous system needs calcium. Our muscular system needs calcium. And those systems, they are prioritized over the skeletal system. Skeletal system gets calcium, which is not used, which is stored for the proper work of muscular and nervous system. And if you have a good nutritional supply of calcium, you get strong bones. If you don't, of course, needs of muscular and nervous system are taken care of first, and then whatever we have at the bones. So calcium and phosphate, because calcium is kept. This is ionic calcium, so it's kept there as calcium phosphate, and the other combinations, the other chemicals, calcium. Now, what type of tissue is a bone or cartilage? Muscular. We have 4 types of tissue. Remember, epithelial, muscular, nervous, and connective. Bone belongs to connective. See, it's kind of strange that bone belongs to the same kind of tissue as blood. What is similar between blood and bone? Huh?
The red blood cells?
No. Red blood cells do live in red bone marrow, but in structure. You have to remember the structure of connective tissue. Let me draw blood. White blood cell, a red blood cell, a red blood cell, red blood cell. Do you see that they're not connected to each other? This white blood cell, because it usually eats antigens, so it doesn't have that nice rounded shape as red blood cells do. So what is in here? Fibers, that's right. And water, acidity. And these are, I'm putting protein fibers, which, as you remember from last time we talked about it, they kept water molecules kind of tied up. Don't let them go out of blood too easily. Then the other kind of protein fibers are those, all the clotting system, plus fibrin that forms some kind of nets where thrombocytes get stuck. Protein fibers. Now, if you look at the bone or cartilage, so you just have to remember that the structure of connective tissue is basically the same. But the water, in the case of bones, is replaced with what? Calcium phosphate, tough material, but it will still have protein fibers. Case of brittle bones, this protein is not formed because the DNA code is damaged or the gene is not expressed properly, and there's no fibers, it's just calcium. Calcium is just chalk, like that. And with no protein fibers between the bone cells, we will get the situation where a person's bone will be shattered if the person falls. So having fibers in the matrix is comparable, you know, when you build a house. Anybody ever built a house, a foundation? There are bars, you know, that are put into concrete. And without those bars, how it's called? Rebars. Without those rebars, you will get a case of brittle bones, brittle foundation. But if you put those rebars in certain order, just as the protein fibers are arranged in the bone, you will get a structure that can withstand a lot of pressure. Because bones are tougher with those protein fibers inside. This is probably the toughest material on Earth, and they learn the structure of it to make whatever, ships and rockets, whatever. How to mix the material and how to put those rebars in. So now, when we look at skeletal system, we will see not only bone, but also plenty of cartilage. So cartilage is that stuff that, well, cartilage is cartilage. Everybody knows how cartilage looks like? Like at the end of long bones, that shiny sliding surface, at the tip of your nose. Something that is not bone, but it's not like muscle or any kind of tissue anyway, something tough. So cartilage, and there are three kinds of cartilages. Hyaline cartilage, elastic cartilage, and fibrocartilage. They are different, only the difference is in the medium, which is here. In the case of cartilage, this is jelly-like material, not calcium. So in the case of water, or in the case of blood, the material is water. In the case of bone, the material is calcium phosphate. With protein fibers, of course. In the case of cartilage, This is jelly-like material, and this jelly-like material with the protein fibers can be like very tough fiber cartilage. You can find it in your spine because it's under pressure. You will have elastic cartilage, which is like in your ears and very soft and flexible. And you will have something in between, which is hyaline cartilage, which is a cartilage at the end of long bones in your joints that allow your bones to slide against each other very smoothly. And also the last, not tissue, but the last thing that you can find in skeletal systems are ligaments and tendons, which are once again a fibrous connective tissue. So tendons, fibrous connective tissue, and ligaments. And the difference between those are that tendons provide muscle to muscle connection, and ligaments are muscle to bone connection. So, okay, in the case of fibrous connective tissue, once again you will see cells, and you will see very tough collagen fibers, more actually fibers than media, arranged in a certain pattern for flexibility and yeah, it provides connection between bone muscle and muscle to muscle. Okay. Bones. You're supposed to know the names of all bones by Monday. No, I'm just kidding. We just look at the big one, and hopefully you will get a chance to play with our skeletons in the lab. So what I want you to know from this picture is that skeletal is generally divided by axial skeleton, which includes all the bones that you can go, that you meet on the way if you go to that direction, and appendicular, you probably know the word perpendicular, appendicular skeleton, which consists of limbs. So let's look at axial skeletal. So it's actually, I listed the bones right here in your lecture notes. But here is a skull, hyoid bone, which is right here, which is a bone that gets broken if a person commits suicide by hanging. They usually break these bones, that's how they can gel. And then vertebral column and the rib cage. The rib cage, this is sternum. And you know, and ribs are connected. Ribs belong to axial skeleton, and they are connected to sternum by cartilage, costal cartilages. That provides well, a small flexibility of movements, but it's not like the cartilage, the joint structure that you have in your limbs. Now, appendicular skeleton, this is pelvic girdle and lower limbs. with the names of the bones. But saying just lower limbs bones are fine. And pectoral girdle, clavicle, scapula, and the upper limbs. What is the biggest bone in the body? This one, called femur. Okay. We're going to draw two diagrams. First is a macrostructure of the bone, the long bone. Second one, microstructure, and then we're going to talk about bone formation and models and what happens when you break the bone. Okay. So, long bone. The human body has long bones, like you know the bones in your arms and legs. And it has a flat bones, like the flat, the skull bones or pelvic girdle bones. Now draw me, get your coloring pencils, and draw me a nice long bone. So first of all, we're gonna cover the, okay, these parts are called A, P, this. The middle part is called diaphysis. AP, you know, on top of something, so that's how you remember that. Epiphysis, diaphysis. So, we already heard about epithelial tissue on top of something. So, at the end of something, or you know, the books usually have epilogue, which is kind of what happened at the end, the last chapter. Okay, then what we want to do for our bones to provide the movement, we want to cover those bones, the end of long bone, with a cartilage. And this is hyaline cartilage. And the surface, which makes the surface of the bone nice and shiny. And you know, old people have pains in their joints. It's just because the cartilage can wear off. And there will be nerve endings exposed when the person moves. So, and then elderly people will need hip replacement or something. Because of course in this case, when cartilage is gone, so it's very hard to provide movement if the bones just don't slide against each other. The other reason, probably why a person can have a pain in his joints is rheumatoid arthritis. Once again, if you have pains in the joints, it's something with the cartilage. And in case of rheumatoid arthritis, your immune system cells attack and damage hyaline cartilage cells. And it's considered so-called autoimmune disease. Also, you know, when you draw a joint, there are always, it's called synovial joint, there are always a small liquid for smooth movement, which is called synovial liquid. And if you have an injury, if you got an injury in your athletic competition, the liquid might leak out, and again you have to give yourself a rest unless everything heals. Yeah, that's supposed to be another bone. Another bone also has hyaline cartilage, and let's say in this case, this bone is connected to another bone. These two bones are connected with ligament, just to provide more or less stable structure. And the whole thing is called synovial joint right here. Two bones connected with a ligament with so-called bursa that will deposit a little bit of liquid. Like, you know, you change oil in your car engine. So this is actually something like your engine oil right here. Okay, this is the structure of a joint, but we have a small problem right here. We have to draw something else, because you cannot connect a ligament to a bare bone, you know, because it's calcium phosphate. So let's cover the bone with a layer of connective tissue, which is called periosteum. Layer of connective tissue. Covering the bone. So if we have this layer, our tendons and ligaments could be attached to a bone. So every bone always have periosteum. Now you know, it's kind of encasing. We had pericardium. Now we have periosteum, and everything that starts with osteo, as a rule, is related to skeletal system or individual bone structure. Remember, everything that starts with myo or sarco is related to muscle. A lot of words that start with osteo, like osteoporosis, are related to skeletal system. Alright, we did periosteum. Now we can attach ligaments and tendons to our bones. Then we're going to look what is inside the bone. First of all, I would like you to draw a place for red bone marrow. And this is called compact bone or ground bone. Compact. But if our calcium with the fibers and bone cells are arranged like this, it's called spongy bone. So we say that red bone marrow is located in spongy bone. And take a small red pencil and draw a few red blood cells in here, because this is the first place for all the blood cells. Now, by the way, this when the bone is a spongy bone, And it's arranged, it's actually a system of little plates connected with each other. Each plate is called trabecula. And we will see, and let's put here, this is a unit of spongy bone. You will see a little bit later on that compact bone, the unit of compact bone is called osteon. But so far, we're talking just about trabecula. Now, probably the most important, the most precious part of the bone is the bone growth plate. I would like you to take your brightly colored pencil and draw a growth plate. You will see it right here. It's also called epiphyseal plate because we call the whole structure epiphysis. So this is the only area where the bone cells divide and grow. So the bone itself just grows in these two areas, extending itself. Now we can understand why doctors, surgeons pay careful attention at the age of the person who breaks the bone, especially if the break happens in the epiphysis of the bone. Because a person grows, when a baby is born, you have a lot of cartilage between the bones and so on. And all bones keep growing. So epiphyseal plates, which are actually made of cartilage, because bone starts with laying down cartilage. So baby has much more cartilage. And then when the person grows, in some bones, epiphyseal plates will get closed, and those bones do not grow anymore. Long bones grow up to the age of 25. And if 12 or 13 years old child breaks epiphysis, and the break goes through epiphyseal plate, that is dangerous. Because if this perfectly aligned layer of cells gets moved, the kid is going to get disfigured because the bone will grow kind of in different direction. But when an old person needs a hip replacement, it's no big deal. Because after age 25, you don't grow that much anymore. You can just cut this thing and replace it with hip replacement or something else. It's not that dangerous. You just need the bone healed. And after the age of 25, basically, we do not care about epiphyseal plates. They are mostly closed. Okay, so what else is inside the bone? The space inside of the diaphysis is called medullary cavity, and it keeps yellow fat. You know the soup made out of bones, the yellow fat, it gives it specific flavor. So now, do bones have blood vessels? Or not? Yes or no? What? Yes, a lot of it. Cartilages usually do not have blood vessels inside of the cartilages. That's why bones could be healed faster than cartilages. And we are moving toward the microstructure of the long bone, which is fun. But just look, the even bigger blood vessels go through periosteum and then use a special canals inside of the bone. Okay, here's the picture, and you see the spongy bone with nice cavities for red bone marrow. The picture is in my book at page 240. And we're going to work with that. So if you have a book, open. So on this picture, we see also periosteum. See, this is a connective tissue that is kind of being peeled off from the bone. And the microstructure of the bone is osteon. It looks like a dungeon. It's a tubular unit of a compact bone. That is the definition of the osteon, which you have it in your vocabulary. Let's see. Yeah, you have osteon and trabecula. So osteon is a unit of a compact bone, and trabecula is a unit of a spongy bone. Okay. So now the fun part. Osteon is a dungeon. Look at the picture. Where are the bone cells? On that picture. Osteon is not a bone cell itself. So where are the bone cells on this picture? Guesses. The best guess. Do you see any cells? Who sees any cells? No? No cells, right? See those little thingies that look like spiders? Little black things.
Osteocytes.
Osteocytes. Yeah, sounds like some osteo on the side. So they are called osteocytes. And I would like you to put in your vocab that it's mature bone cells. So now let's look at the structure of the osteon. See the dungeon? And in the middle of it, it's a blood vessel. Let's draw osteon. It's a tubular unit. And this is a blood vessel. And you see it's a little like arterioles or and a little venous or capillaries. Okay. Middle. And this is the source of life for those cells because that's where they dump the garbage, and that's where they get all of their nutrition. Now I want you to draw bone cells on those circles. So the question is, how do the cells, okay, here's a blood vessel. How do these cells that are located far away from blood vessels can get any food in the form of glucose and fatty acids and everything? if they have calcium walls. So the answer to that is on this picture. What is shown here in green is an osteocyte, like this one. It lives, let's call it a little prison cell. If the osteon could be compared with a dungeon or a prison, we can perceive those osteocytes sitting in a little prison cells called lacunas. And guess what? They found a way to be connected to each other. There's a little canalicule. It's like, you know, Graf Monte Cristo digging its way out. They all are, in a strange way, connected to each other by the little canals called canalicules, which is, let's find it on the picture, the canalicules. And through those canals, they kind of reach their hands, which are outgrowing cytoplasm, and hold another cell. Why? Because the cells that are positioned close to the blood vessel will grab some nutrition and pass it to another cell and another cell. And then, if the nutrition is passed this way, all the waste goes different direction to the blood vessel, because that's where we have to dump it. All the wastes. So, in another way, what you have in here is the osteons, the structures, with the blood vessels in the middle of osteons, and osteocytes, little prisoners, sentenced to live in this calcium environment. And they all help each other by making little canalicules, and passing the nutrition from the blood vessel to the other cells, and dumping the waste to the blood vessel. By using that, you know, cytoplasmic hands. Okay.
What are they?
Canal. If you remember the small canal, you know, arteries, arterioles, veins, venous, canals, canalicules. Whatever you can make of it, I will understand. Remember the word canals. Okay, if you look at hyaline cartilage, cartilage itself is basically arranged, it is arranged the same way. You see matrix, which is a jelly-like material with protein fibers. Chondrocytes, we have osteocytes for the bone. We have chondro for cartilage cells. That's how they are called. But they are still sitting in the lacuna, and yeah, they do not have canalicules because they can get. Everything right from the middle. Okay. Remember that in evolution, the bones are the latest addition of the evolution. So the most expensive fish, if you compare the most expensive fish and the least expensive fish, who has more bones?
least expensive.
The more bones the fish has, the less people like to eat it, right? So the Asian fish has just a little bit of bones, and it doesn't like sturgeon. It has cartilage. You can chew on it. So sharks have cartilage. So not a lot of bones right there at the beginning of the evolution. But get something from Pushol Lake, you will not find the meat, it's all bones. So bones originally are made from cartilage, and that's where we have two models of bone making. Okay, bone development and growth. Of course, bone development, scientific word for it, starts with osteo, not osteo, but os, and it's called ossification. This is page 252, and we have endochondrous, ossification, endochondrous, and ossification, and intramembranous. Long words. Okay, the difference is that endochondrous, see how the word for cartilage is implanted in this word? Chondro, cartilage. The bone is created from the cartilage. The bone is laid down as a cartilage. And then this cartilage will get ossified. On the 4th month of pregnancy, the cartilageous skeleton, because the skeleton of the baby is laid down as a cartilage. So on 4th month of pregnancy, the skeleton will become mostly bony, but still some places will be looking like a cartilage, like a fontanelle right here on the top of baby's hand. So what we write here under the word endochondrous is that long bones are formed this way, and and then you write here the bone is laid out as a cartilage. Now, intramembranous, you will see the word membrane. So that is for the flat bones. So flat bones are formed by laying down two membranes, and then putting some bone cells will come in between those two membranes. It's just like molding, you know. You need to create an elaborate shape. You will get a mold. You put something in, and then it will be ossified. So flat bones, bone forms between membranes. All right. So the next important part of information is that your bones are recycled about 20% per year, because there's constant exchange of the minerals with the blood. Calcium goes into the bone, out of the bone. Bone grows, bone adjusts to carry your weight. You know, well, after giving birth to 2 kids, you will never look like a girl because your bones kind of shape to hold all this extra weight of pregnancy, and then you get totally different shapes as a girl or sometimes, well, like womanly shape or so. And sometimes people will put an extra weight, and bones will grow and accommodate this weight. So when a person loses weight, once again, it's not only just weight problem, it's getting like a little bit bigger bones and so on. But once again, you can change the shape of your body by exercise. And, because the more you exercise, the bones will adjust to accommodate your weight and pressure. Now, all of these processes are managed by 3 different armies of bone cells. The name of the first army of bone cells are osteoblasts. They are the first one that come into the cartilage. It's like, this is our territory now. Let's make a bone, osteoblasts. Let's make a bone out of it. What they do, they come into cartilage and they will release a specific chemical and they ossify everything around them. Well, when you ossify everything around you, where do you find yourself? Like, oh my God, now I'm like those calcium walls all around me. So osteoblasts will become osteocytes. They will become mature bone cells. So this is the second kind of bone cells, osteocytes. Mature bone cells, and there is a third kind of bone cells which are called osteoclasts. Osteoclasts will liquefy, not liquefy, it's the wrong word, they will take the calcium out of the bones to supply it to nervous or muscular system. And the strength of your bones depends on the relative activity between osteoblasts that will create the bone and osteoclasts that will destroy the bone. Okay? By the age of 40, in like women, the activity of osteoclasts will become higher than the activity of osteoblasts. And that is the reason for osteoporosis. Now the question is, what can increase the activity of osteoblasts? So first of all, hormones. First is growth hormones, and then all the sex hormones that will create the growth spur in the kids. So second thing that can increase the activity of osteoblasts is a physical exercise. And everything is working. So the bones are being built to accommodate an extra activity. And the third thing is the play of 2 hormones, thyroid, the activity of thyroid and parathyroid gland. The hormones are called calcitonin and parathyroid hormone, which we study a little bit more in when we get your endocrine system. But the point is that there's always two hormones with the opposite action that take care of chemical, or let's say glucose. To regulate the glucose in the blood, you need two hormones. One that puts it in your blood, the other one that takes it out and put it in the liver for safekeeping. So the same in the case of calcium. If you you have calcitonin and parathyroid hormone that regulate the content of the calcium in the blood and manage the bones. Now, pictures. What pictures I would like you to take a look at when you are at. So far we went over the diagram of long bone structure, macroscopic structure, microscopic structure. Please be able to identify the bone cells and those osteons. Next picture shows you axial and appendicular skeleton of bones. We looked at the structure of synovial joint, which consists of two bones connected by the ligament, which is attached to periosteum of each bone. We looked at the joint cavity filled with synovial liquid. And the cartilage is called, it is a hyaline cartilage, but it also called articular cartilage because it allows articulations or movement. Now there are two other kinds of joints, except synovial. So, joints. First, synovial or fully movable. Then we will have immovable, non-movable, joints. They are called sutures. Where are those located? No, in your head. Well, not in your head, but skull. Skull bones are connected with sutures. We don't need to move those skull bones a lot. So they are immovable. Look at the skulls in your lap, and you will see that the bones come together like that. But there's always like a small glue of cartilage between those bones as they come together. They're movable joints, and it's always in between. The joints are slightly movable, partially movable. These are cartilages in your ribs. Ribs. These are the places where you expect to find cartilage. Partially. So let's go next. These are picture of different articulations that you will perform in doctor's office. This is a model of endochondral ossification. As you can see, you start with cartilage, And then slowly but surely, osteoblasts will come into different cartilaginous regions of the bone and then ossify it, making it calcified. Bone remodeling and bone repair. We don't have much time. I would like you to look at the bone repair. It, page 256. So first of all, what do you say here? If you break a bone, hematoma is formed. Hematoma will give you a lot of pain because it's expansion of the space between tissues. It pushes on nervous endings, and the blood comes from those blood vessels that are in the bone. So with the blood vessels, first will come an immune system cells and clear and check everything for viruses, bacteria, infection, everything. Then osteoblasts will come with the blood flow. Everything comes with the blood flow. And on the second picture, you will see fibrocartilaginous callus. This is why when it's formed for 3 months, you will still have to wear a cast, because that is just cartilaginous callus. We don't want to damage it. What you see next is the formation of the bone, spongy bone is formed, cartilage is being calcified. This is the work of osteoblasts, which will become mature osteocytes. Finally, osteoclasts will come and remove those spongy bone in the wrong place. So the bone will be remodeled. What you're seeing here is just about the same process. Osteoclasts kind of eat the bone from inside, and osteoblasts will form the bone on the outside. If the bone grows or needs to be adjusted to carry your weight. But remember that it's not like it's bone remodeling. It's not bone growth that we are talking in this case. The long bones, the long bones will grow through epiphyseal plates right here. So it means that extension will be done in epiphysis. So bone grows by its ends.
Lengthens the bone?
Huh?
It lengthens the bone?
The what? Lengthens the bone and extends the bone. And this process kind of goes sideways. It remodels the bone to accommodate like the way you walk, the way you hold the posture, the way you carry weight, and so on. Okay, let's look at the vocabulary and see if we now know what we're talking about in this chapter. So axial skeleton includes, let's go from the head down, skull, then what? Hyoid bone. What else?
Vertebral.
Yes, vertebra with the rib cage which are attached to it, and that's it. Well, sternum is the bone that is like in front of the rib cage. And appendicular skeleton includes
Pectoral rib.
Yeah, pectoral girdle and limbs, and pelvic girdle. It's like the whole bunch of bones and limbs. Now, osteoblast. How can we? What kind?
Bone forming cells?
Bone forming cells. Yes. Osteocytes.
Mature bone cell.
Mature bone cells. Osteoclast.
Bone building cell.
Yeah. Chondrocytes. Just simply cartilage cells. Chondro. Because, you know, in early animals or fishes or whatever, they, for those creatures who don't have skeleton, they have a cartilage rod, which is called chondra. So from the it's a cartilage, not skeleton, by chondra, from chondrocyte. Now, intramembranous ossification means that
Bones are developed into sheets of fibrous connective tissue.
yeah, bones are developed between membranes. Yeah, even simpler. So, and cartilages model ossification.
Bone is laid out as cartilage.
Yes. Osteon and trabecula, the next one.
Do you know compact bones are
Osteon, they're both units, but osteon is a tubular unit, and trabecula is a flat or plate unit of a spongy bone. Canaliculi, little canals between osteocytes. Periosteum is a covering, let's say connective tissue covering of the bone, which makes the attachment of ligament and tendons possible. And three types of joints are synovial or fully movable, hardly movable, partially movable, and immovable sutures.
What they call it, fibrous
Yeah,
and
fibrous.
cartilaginous.
Yeah, cartilages here. But if you just, yeah, that is good. I would like to see that, but just remember that fully movable, partially movable, non-movable. Synovial, cartilages, sutures, fibrous. So then I would like you to know 4 stages of broken bone. First, hematoma formation. Second, cartilage formation. Third, spongy bone formation. And fourth, remodeling. This is page 256. Right here. And that's it. Thank you very much. I'll see you Monday, and I believe you have bone left this week.